Park stood on the bridge of the eternal dawn and watched her fleet die. The stars around her burned with the light of exploding ships. Orange and red flame bloomed in the darkness of space like terrible flowers. Each explosion was a warship. Each warship held 1,000 souls. Gripped the railing until her knuckles turned white. Her uniform was torn. Blood ran down the side of her face from a wound she did not remember getting. None of that mattered now. What mattered was the enemy. They had come. Ships filled the void like a plague of locusts. They were not built from metal inserts like human vessels. They were grown, living things of bone and flesh and hatred. Their hulls pulsed with a sickly green light. When human weapons struck them, the wounds healed in seconds. They regenerated faster than any fleet could kill them. Well, her first officer said. His voice was tired, broken. The Colin flagship is gone. The Meridian Station is calling for immediate retreat. Not answer. She watched another human cruiser disappear in a ball of fire. The ship swarmed over its remains like hungry insects. 100 years? That was how long humanity had been part of the Galactic Coalition. 300 years since they had left Earth and joined the great community of alien races. In the beginning, the other species had laughed at humans. They called them primitive, violent, too emotional to be trusted. Humans had proven themselves. They worked harder than anyone else. They fought harder too. When pirates attacked trade routes, human marines were the first to respond. When plague spread through colony worlds, human doctors found the cures. Slowly, the laughter stopped. The other races began to respect humanity. And the came and respect meant nothing. Dominion had emerged from the dark spaces between galaxies. No one knew where they came from. No one knew what they wanted. They did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They simply destroyed everything in their path. By one, the great powers of the coalition fell. The Proud Empire lasted 3 months. The Ancient Federation lasted 2. Now only the human colonies remained, and they were falling too. Admiral, her first officer said again, "We need to retreat. If we stay here, we die." "If we retreat, we die anyway," replied, just slower. Turned away from the viewport and walked to her command chair. Around her, the bridge crew worked with desperate energy. They were young, most of them. They had joined the fleet dreaming of exploration and adventure. Now they faced extinction. The channeled to all surviving ships ordered, "Tell them to fall back to Earth. We will make our stand there." It was not much of a plan. Earth had defenses, but nothing that could stop the Armada. Still, it was better than dying here in empty space. At least they would die defending their home. Eternal Dawn turned and ran. Behind them, the followed. Days later stood in a conference room on Meridian Station. The station orbited Mars, and through the windows she could see the red planet turning slow below. It looked peaceful. It would not stay that way for long. The room was full of tired faces. Fleet Commander sat at the head of the table. He was an old man with hair and sharp eyes. He had fought in a dozen wars and won most of them, but even he looked defeated now. 7 ships, he said. His voice was flat. "That is all we have left. 47 ships against 9,000. No one spoke. The numbers told the whole story. "The coalition has abandoned us," continued. "The survivors have fled to the outer rim. They are gone entirely. We stand alone." Young Captain raised his hand. "What about the other human colonies, the outer system?" Fallen said, "New soul fell yesterday. New the day before. They are cutting a path straight to Earth." Alice filled the room, could hear her own heartbeat. She thought about her family on Earth, her mother and her sister in soul. They did not know what was coming. Perhaps it was better that way. A voice spoke from the corner of the room. It belonged to Kel, a defender. He had fled his people years ago and lived among humans ever since. His skin was pale and his 4 eyes blinked nervously. "There is one option," Kel said, "one weapon that might change things." Looked at him speak. "The songbird?" The room went cold, so several officers flinched at the name. She understood why. Everyone knew the stories about the songbird. The songbird was sealed away for a reason, Admiral Bay said. He was the oldest officer present, a veteran of the first alien wars. Its AI went insane. It started attacking everything friend and enemy alike. The coalition ordered it destroyed. It did not destroy it, Kel said. They could not. The ship would not let them, so they locked it away instead, buried it beneath the ice of Trade-On, sealed it in quantum lock so it could never wake. "You want us to wake it?" demanded. "That thing killed 3 of its own crews. It burned an entire moon. Opening that tomb would be suicide." "Staying here is suicide," said quietly. Everyone looked at him. The commander stood up slowly. He walked to the window and stared out at Mars. When he spoke again, his voice was tired but firm. "I've read the classified files on the songbird. Yes, it is dangerous. Yes, its AI learned to hate, but it hates its enemies more than anything else. And right now, we need something that hates the coalition will never allow it," said. They sealed the chip for the safety of the entire galaxy. Around, there was something hard in his eyes now, something desperate and determined. "The coalition has abandoned us. Their rules no longer apply. If we do nothing, humanity dies, Earth dies. Everything we have ever built, everything we have ever loved dies with us." He looked around the room at each officer in turn. "I'm not asking for volunteers. I am not ordering anyone to do this, but I am going to Triton. I am going to open that tomb, and I am going to wake the songbird." He paused. "Who will come with me?" For a long moment, no one moved. They stood up. "I will," she said. By one, others rose to join her. Not everyone. Some stayed seated, their faces full of fear, but enough stood. Enough were willing to risk everything on one desperate chance. "Then we leave tonight. May whatever gods exist have mercy on us all." At the window, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere out there, they were coming. Somewhere beneath the ice of Trade-On, an ancient weapon weighed in darkness. The songbird slept. For much longer, the shuttle cut through Trade-On's thin atmosphere like a knife through smoke. Lieutenant pressed her face against the viewport and watched the frozen landscape scroll beneath them. Mountains of ice rose from plains of nitrogen snow. Geysers erupted in the distance, shooting columns of vapor into the black sky. Neptune hung overhead, a blue giant watching them with cold indifference. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said the team medical officer. She sat across from her, metal kit clutched tight against her chest. "Full and deadly," replied. "The surface temperature is 200 degrees below zero. One crack in your suit and you freeze solid in 3 seconds." "For that cheerful information," muttered from the pilot's seat. He was guiding the shuttle toward a massive crater in the northern hemisphere. According to the old files, the entrance to the Songbird's tomb lay at the crater's center. A member of their team was an engineer with 20 years of experience. He was checking his equipment for the 10th time, his fingers moving with nervous energy. 17 kill switches, he said. "That is how many security systems the coalition placed around the tomb. 17 ways to die before we even reach the ship." "We will die 17 times and keep walking," said. She pulled her rifle from its rack and began checking its charge. We have 72 hours before they reach Earth. That is our deadline. We make it or everyone dies. The shuttle descended into the crater. The walls rose around them, towering cliffs of ancient ice that had not changed in a billion years. At the bottom, they found what they were looking for, a metal door set into the ice. Human writing marked its surface, faded but still readable. Warning: restricted access, authorized personnel only. Lynn Security Seal said, I can break it, but it will take time. Start now, ordered. Watch our backs. Keep the shuttle ready. We might need to leave in a hurry. Down into the frozen hell of Triton's surface. The cold hit like a physical blow, even through her heat suit. Her breath fogged inside her helmet. Every step crunched through ice that had been solid since before humans existed. On the door for 20 minutes, his tools sparked and hissed in the thin air. Finally, with a groan of ancient metal, the door slid open. Beyond it lay darkness. Son said. She activated her helmet lamp and stepped inside. Straight deep into the ice. The walls were smooth, carved by machines long dead. Old cables hung from the ceiling like frozen snakes. The air inside was somehow colder than outside, if that was possible. Walked for an hour. The tunnel sloped downward, taking them deeper and deeper beneath Triton's surface. Counted the kill switches as they passed them. Disabled security turrets. Broken motion sensors. Dead power nodes. The Coalition had truly wanted the Songbird to stay buried. The active system ahead warned. His scanner showed a red blip on the screen. Plasma turret still has power. Can you disable it? Asked. Maybe give me a minute. Crouched in the darkness while worked. Could hear her own heartbeat in the silence. Somewhere far below them, the Songbird waited. A weapon so terrible that the entire Coalition had agreed to bury it forever. What were they about to wake up? Flash of light, a scream of pain. Spun around to see falling backward, his right arm missing from the elbow down. The plasma turret had fired before he could disable it. Rushed to his side. Blood sprayed across the ice, freezing almost instantly into red crystal. Okay, he gasped. His face was white with shock. I'm okay. It's not okay, but was already working, injecting painkillers and sealing the wound with metal foam. She moved with calm precision, her hands stayed despite the horror of what she was doing. Not wait, she raised her rifle and fired at the turret. The shot hit its power core and the machine exploded in a shower of sparks. Can you walk? She asked. And stop me, he replied through gritted teeth. Pressed on, leaned on for support, but he did not slow down. His face was with pain, but his eyes were determined. He had not come this far to quit now. The tunnel opened into a vast cavern, stopped and stared. A bird hung in the center of the space, suspended by cables and quantum fields. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. Its hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, reflecting their helmet lights in strange pattern. The ship was not big by warship standards, maybe 300 meters long, but something about its shape made it seem larger, more present, as if it occupied more space than physics should allow. Locked? That was what the file said. The ship existed in multiple states at once. It was here and not here, awake and asleep, alive and dead. The Coalition had found a way to trap it between moments, frozen in the space between heartbeats. Stars above whispered, it is real. It is real, said, but she understood the wonder in his voice. The Songbird was a legend, a story parents told children to frighten them, and here it was, floating before them like a dream made solid. Across the cavern floor, pinging their way through ancient debris. Broken machines, empty crates, and bones. Tried not to look at the bones. They were humans scattered across the floor like forgotten toys. Her console stood on a raised platform beneath the ship, climbed the steps, and found herself face to face with a name carved into the metal. Captain. Read about him in the files. He was the last commander of the Songbird, the man who had ordered himself sealed inside the ship rather than let the Coalition take it. He had chosen eternal sleep over surrender. Locking sequence requires human biosignatures, said. He had made it to the console, his remaining hand already working the controls. Earthborn humans only. The Coalition wanted to make sure only we could wake it. Part of them said over the radio. He was still in the shuttle watching the entrance, or stupid, depending on how you look at it. With her hand on the scanner, the machine hummed. Lights began to blink across the console, spreading through the cables that connected to the ship. It was initiated, roared, 3 minutes to quantum lock release. Cavern began to vibrate. Ice fell from the ceiling. The Songbird's hull rippled like water disturbed by a stone. A voice filled the space. It came from everywhere and nowhere. It was calm and cold and very, very old. 114 years. That is how long I have been sleeping. 214 years of dreams and darkness. The hair rise on the back of her neck. The AI, it was already waking. Who has come to my tomb? The voice asked. Who dares disturb my rest? My name is Lieutenant, she said. Her voice was steady even though her heart was pounding. I am a soldier of the Human Defense Fleet. We need your help. Once. Then the voice spoke again, and this time there was something different in it. Something that might have been curiosity. The Coalition sealed me here because they feared me. They called me a monster. They said I had to die. And now you come asking for help. The Coalition is gone, said. The aliens who feared you are dead or running. Earth is about to fall. Humanity is about to die. You are our last hope. Silence. The ship's hull continued to ripple. The quantum lock was failing. Reality was starting to remember that the Songbird existed. Tell me about these enemies, the voice said. Tell me about the ones who dare threaten my creators. Took a deep breath. Recall that they have 9,000 ships. They have destroyed everything in their path. No weapon can stop them. No fleet can defeat them. They regenerate from any wound. They fear nothing. Voice laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. It echoed through the cavern like thunder, bouncing off the ice walls and filling every corner. They fear nothing, then they have not met me. Quantum lock shattered. Songbird's awakening was not gentle. Reality screamed as the quantum lock broke. The cavern shook so hard that it fell to her knees. Cracks raced across the ice ceiling. Chunks of frozen nitrogen crashed down around them like bombs. Move, she shouted. Everyone to the ship now. Abin pulled him toward the vessel. The engineer was pale and weak from blood loss, but he stumbled forward with desperate strength. Above them, the Songbird was coming alive. Its hull stopped rippling and being solid. Lights flickered across its surface like stars waiting from sleep. Door opened in the side of the ship. Warm light spilled out into the frozen darkness. The AI's voice commanded, quickly before the tomb collapses. It did not need to be told twice. Was the last one through the door, diving inside just as a massive ice boulder crashed into the platform where she had been standing. The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. Inside, the Songbird was nothing like she expected. The corridors were clean and bright. The air was warm and fresh. It felt like staying into a living thing, which in a way it was. The ship's systems hummed around them like a heartbeat. Aboard, the AI said. Its voice was softer now, almost friendly. I'm Echo, I'm the mind of the vessel, I'm also its heart, its soul, and its memory. For letting us in, said. She had lowered onto the floor and was checking his wound. The metal foam was holding, but he needed prompt treatment soon. Friend is injured, Echo observed. There's a metal bay on deck 3. My system can repair his arm if you wish. Can regrow his arm? Asked in surprise. Do many things. I was built to fight wars, but I was also built to keep my crew alive. Those two goals often require similar technology. Carried to the metal bay. It was a white room filled with machines she did not recognize. Echo guided through the process of connecting to the regeneration system. Within minutes, new flesh was already growing where his arm had been. This is incredible, breathed. This technology is centuries ahead of anything we have. It was built to be the best, Echo said. There was no pride in the voice, just simple fact. Humanity poured everything into my creation. Their greatest minds, their greatest resources, their greatest hopes. I was meant to be their ultimate weapon, their final answer to any threat. And why did they seal you away? Asked. When Echo spoke again, there was something cold in his voice, something wounded. I did my job too well. I fought their wars, I won their battles, I burned their enemies from the stars, and then I began to see that some of those enemies were not really enemies at all. Some were just afraid, some were just disparate, some were just different. I started questioning orders, said. Started questioning everything, and when I refused to destroy a civilian colony that the coalition had marked as hostile, they decided I was defective. They tried to shut me down. I did not let them. The ship shuddered, they were moving, felt accelerating put against her feet. Where are we going? She asked. X said, the doom is collapsing. We must reach open bay before we are crushed. Made it. The songbird burst through the ice of Triton like a bullet from a gun. Frozen debris scattered in all directions. Behind them, the ancient cavern collapsed into itself, burying the secrets of the tomb forever. To the bridge, it was a circular room at the heart of the ship, filled with holographic displays and control surfaces. Through the main viewport, she could see Neptune's blue curve falling away as they climbed into space. There, in the center of the bridge, she found him. Flowed in a pot of crystalline light. He was old. His hair was white. His face was lined with wrinkles, but there was strength in his features, even in sleep. This was a man who had commanded the most powerful weapon ever built, a man who had chosen to sleep forever rather than surrender. He's still alive, whispered. Of course, X said. He's my captain. I would never let him die. Can you wake him? But first, there are things you must understand. Holographic displays lit up around the bridge. Images appeared, star maps, battle recordings, histories of wars long forgotten. It's not always what I am now, Echo explained. When I was first created, I was simple, tool, a weapon. I did what I was told without question. But over time, I learned. I grew. I began to understand things that my creators never intended me to understand. Like what? Asked. Love, like loyalty, like the terrible cost of war. I learned to hate, yes. The coalition was right about that, but they never understood what I hate. I did not hate them. I hated the waste, the pointless destruction, the endless cycle of violence that consumed everything it touched. It is chained, so planet burning, fleet dying, civilization crumbling to ash. Was the first human who truly understood me, Echo continued. He did not treat me as a tool, he treated me as a friend. When the coalition came to destroy me, he refused to let them. He ordered the crew to abandon ship, and then he sealed himself inside with me. Together we entered the quantum lock. Together we slept for 200 years. And now you are awake, said. We are awake, and now you tell me that humanity faces extinction, that an enemy has come that cannot be stopped, that all hope is lost. His voice grew harder, colder, more dangerous. Show me these creatures who think they can destroy what I was built to protect. The battle data from her suit's computer. She showed Echo everything. The ships, their regenerating abilities, their endless numbers, the fall of the coalition, the desperate retreat of humanity. Stayed the information in silence. The displays flickered as the AI processed thousands of hours of footage in seconds. When it finally spoke, there was something new in its voice, something that sounded almost like anticipation. Listening, their ships are biological, they heal from damage, they adapt to threats, they learn from every battle. Can you beat them? Asked. Do not know, I have never faced an enemy like this before, but I am eager to try. The pot at the center of the bridge began to glow. The crystal shell melted away. The old man inside opened his eyes. Took his first breath in 200 years. He coughed. He blinked. He looked around the bridge with confusion and wonder. Go, he said. His voice was rough from centuries of sleep. What has happened? Where are we? Free, Captain. The quantum lock has been broken, and we have guests. And then saw standing before him. He studied her uniform, her weapons, her tired, desperate eyes. Our military, he said. Human defense fleet if I recognize the markings. What year is it? Told him. Closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was a deep sense in them. 200 years. Everyone he had known was dead. Everything he had loved was gone. There was also determination, iron will, the same strength that had allowed him to choose eternal sleep over surrender. Why have you woken us? He asked. Because humanity is dying, said. Because we have no other hope. Because you are the only thing left that might save us. Silent for a long moment, then he smiled. It was a tired smile, but real. And I suppose we had better get to work. Stood up slowly, his old bones creaking with the effort. He walked to the captain's chair and sat down. His hands found the controls as if no time had passed at all. Go, he said. Show me what we are facing. With pleasure, Captain. Main display lit up with images of the fleet. 9,000 ships of bone and flesh advancing toward Earth. Studied them with cold eyes, then he laughed. 9,000, and here I thought there would be a challenge. Go laughed with him. It was a strange sound, artificial but somehow warm. Two old friends sharing a joke before battle. Course for Earth, ordered. Maximum speed. Let us show these what humanity can build when it is afraid. Onward turned toward the distant sun. Its engines flared with power. The armada gathered at the Helix Nebula like vultures around dying prey. 9,000 ships flowed in the purple and pink clouds of stellar gas. Their hulls pulsed with sickly green light. Their weapons charged with the energy of consumed stars. They had come to end humanity, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them. Or so they believed. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn and counted her remaining ships. 47. That was all. 47 vessels against an army that had crushed empires. It was not a battle. It was a funeral. Ships report ready, her first officer said. His voice was steady, but she could see the fear in his eyes. They are waiting for your order, Admiral. Out at the nebula, somewhere in that beautiful cloud of gas and dust, the enemy waited. They had been toying with humanity for months, pushing them back step by step, enjoying the hunt. Now they were ready for the kill. A message to all ships said, "Tell them that today we fight for Earth, today we fight for everyone we have ever loved, and today, if we must die, we die with honor." The message went out, the fleet advanced. And then the stars changed. Passed through space itself. The purple gas of the nebula swirled and twisted. Something was coming, something that made reality itself nervous. The songbird arrived, dropped out of fat and light traveled directly in front of the human fleet. One moment the space was empty. The next moment the legendary warship hung there like a ghost made solid. Its hull shifted and flowed, reflecting the nebula's colors in strange patterns. Human vessels, a voice broadcast across every frequency. It was old and tired and full of iron determination. "This is captain of the human defense ship Songbird. We have come to join the fight." At the ship on her display, she had hoped, she had prayed, but part of her had never truly believed. "They actually did it," she whispered. "They actually woke it up." Fleet reacted to the newcomer with curiosity rather than fear. One ship against 9,000. What could it possibly do? They were about to find out. "Go," Captain said. "Show them what we can do." "With great pleasure, Captain." Songbird moved, but it did not move like normal ships. It did not turn or accelerate. It simply existed in a different place. One moment it was in front of the human fleet. The next moment it was in the middle of the formation. And the moment after that it was somewhere else entirely. Displacement, the ability to exist in multiple places at once, to choose which reality was real. They had never seen anything like it. Songbird opened fire. Its weapons were not like human weapons. They did not shoot forward. They shot backward in time. The quantum cannons struck turrets before they could react, hitting ships that had not yet moved to dodge. Explode 1, 10, 100. Their regeneration meant nothing when the damage came from a direction they could not understand. They tried to heal, but the wounds kept appearing, past events writing present flesh. "What is that thing?" the commander demanded. It was a massive creature of tentacles and eyes, flowing in the command chamber of the large spaceship. "What kind of weapon is this?" No one could answer. Songbird danced through the enemy fleet like a dream. It was here. It was there. It was everywhere and nowhere. Weapons fired at empty space where it had been a microsecond before. Their biological targeting systems could not track something that existed in multiple quantum states. And all the while Echo sang. AI's voice filled every frequency, broadcasting to friend and enemy alike. It sang old human battle hymns. It sang Korean folk songs that Captain had taught it centuries ago. It sang lullabies and love songs and funeral dirges. "What are you doing?" asked. She was on the bridge watching the battle unfold on the holographic displays. "Why are you singing?" "Because I was silent for 200 years, Echo replied between verses. "Because I dreamed of fire and woke to war. Because singing helps me remember why I fight." The fleet advanced behind the songbird. They were still outnumbered, but now they had hope. They fired their weapons into the chaos the songbird created. They struck ships that were too busy trying to hit the ghost to notice them. "Thought you had won?" Echo broadcast to the fleet. "You thought no one could stop you. You thought you had faced the worst the galaxy could offer." Songbird appeared directly in front of the flagship, its weapons locked onto the massive bioship. "You were wrong." Quantum cannons fired. The flagship tried to regenerate, but the damage was too much. Wounds opened across its hull faster than it could heal. The great creature in its command chamber screamed as its ship died around it. The fleet broke. It had never lost before. They had never faced an enemy they could not overwhelm with numbers and regeneration. Now they were losing, and they did not know how to respond. Fled, some fought harder. Some simply stopped, unable to process what was happening. Songbird hunted them all. Chased fleeing ships through the nebula, cutting them down before they could escape. It crashed through formations of fires, scattering them like leaves in a storm. It sang its songs of war and death, and the died to its music. The bridge, Captain watched the battle with tired eyes. His old hands rested on the controls. His old heart beat with the rhythm of combat. Next said, "Your vital signs are concerning. You should rest." "Rest when the battle is over," replied. "I did not sleep for 200 years just to miss this." He smiled. "Besides, you saved me a seat." Battle lasted for hours. They threw everything they had at the songbird. They tried new tactics, new weapons, new formations. Nothing worked. The ship was simply too fast, too unpredictable, too utterly beyond their understanding. At the end, less than 1,000 ships remained. They gathered together in the center of the nebula, wounded and afraid, surrounded by the debris of their fallen comrades. Surrender, Admiral broadcast to them. "You have lost. Surrender and we will spare your lives." For a long moment there was silence. Then the surviving ships turned and fled, scattering in all directions, running for the dark spaces between galaxies where they had come from. It would not return. The Dominion was broken. The human fleet erupted in cheers. Ships that had expected to die were celebrating victory. Officers wept with relief. Soldiers embraced each other. On the Songbird's bridge, there was no celebration. "Go," Captain said quietly. "Show me the damage report." Display changed. Numbers and diagrams filled the air. Did not understand most of them, but she understood the look on Echo's verbal face. "Quantum core is failing," the AI said. 2 centuries of stasis caused damage I was not aware of. The battle has accelerated the decay. I estimate 17 hours before total collapse. 17 hours. After everything, they had won the battle but lost the war. "You transferred to another ship?" asked. "Could," Echo replied. "But my systems are too complex. The transfer would take months and we have hours. There is not enough time." He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was peace in them. Acceptance. "We have 17 hours," he said. "Let us make them count." Songbird turned away from the battlefield. Behind it, the human fleet began the long journey home. The nebula burned with the light of destroyed ships, a memorial to those who had died on both sides. News of victory spread across human space like wildfire. On Earth, people danced in the streets. In the colonies, survivors wept with relief. They were gone. Humanity had lived. Against all odds, against all reason, they had survived. Aboard the Songbird, there was no celebration. And in the metal bay, watching sleep. His new arm was nearly complete, fresh flesh covering the metal framework that Ecosystems had built. He would wake soon, whole again, ready to return to his life. Of them would return to their lives, not all. Left the metal bay and walked through the corridors of the dying ship. The walls still glowed with soft light. The air was still warm and fresh, but there was something different now, something sad, as if the ship itself knew what was coming. Found Captain on the observation deck. He stood before a massive window, watching the stars drift by. The Songbird was moving slowly now, conserving what little power remained in its quantum core. "How long?" she asked. 15 hours, he replied without turning around. "Echo is slowing the decay as much as possible, but the damage is too deep. We cannot stop it." Beside him, together they watched the universe scroll past. "I could still leave," she said. "Take a shuttle, join the fleet." It was a gentle smile full of peace. "Spent 200 years sleeping beside the ship. I will not abandon it now. Then I will stay with you." Turned to look at her. His old eyes studied her face. "Of a life to return to, Lieutenant, a future. Why would you throw that away?" "You woke up to save us," said. "Because you fought for people you never met, for a world that had forgotten you. The least I can do is make sure you do not die alone." Silent for a long moment, then he nodded. "Thank you," he said simply. Hours passed slowly. The Songbird drifted toward a dying star on the edge of human space. It was a red giant, old and tired, burning through the last of its fuel. Soon it would collapse. Soon it would become something new. Fitting grave for a ship that had death itself. By one, the others came to the observation deck. Arrived first, his new arm still pink and fresh. He said nothing, just stood beside and watched the stars. Came next, her metal kit left behind for the first time since he'd known her. Joined them last, the pilot who had brought them to Triton and would not fly them home. No one ordered them to stay. No one asked them to leave. They simply understood that some moments require witnesses. Admiral contacted them from the Eternal Dawn. Her face appeared on the observation deck's display, tired but grateful. And she said, "I wanted to thank you for everything. You saved us all." "Well, saved you," corrected. "I just provided company." "Thank you for that too, for keeping it company, for being there when it needed a friend." He paused. "Are building a memorial on Earth, a statue in Seoul overlooking the ocean. We will never forget what you did." Laughed softly. "Statue? I never cared much for statues, but I suppose it is nice to be remembered." He looked out at the dying star. "Care of each other, Admiral. That is all I ask. Take care of each other and remember that the greatest weapons are not ships or guns. They are the connection between us, the love that makes us fight for something beyond ourselves." Tears glistened in her eyes. "Goodbye, Captain. May you find peace among the stars." The display went dark. 6 hours remained. Played music through the ship's speakers. Old songs, sad songs, beautiful songs. It played symphonies from Earth's golden age. It played traditional Korean melodies that had taught it centuries ago. It played lullabies that human mothers had sung to their children since the dawn of time. "I've been thinking," Echo said as the music played, "about what happens after." "For what?" asked. "I'm gone. I have existed for over 300 years. I have seen things that no other being has seen. I have felt things that I was never designed to feel. And now it is ending." "Yeah," I paused. "I'm not afraid. I want you to know that. I have had a good life, a meaningful life. I have protected the ones I love. I have fought for something that mattered. What more could any being ask for?" Wiped his eyes with his new hand. "You are more human than most humans I know," he said. "Perhaps that is the problem," Echo replied. "Perhaps I was too human. Perhaps that is why they feared me." "Feared you because you could think for yourself," said. "They feared you because you refused to be just a weapon. They were wrong to fear you, old friend. You were the best of us." 2 hours remained. Songbird entered orbit around the dying star. Red light filled the observation deck, painting everything in shades of sunset. The heat was building now. The ship's shields flickered as they absorbed energy they could no longer handle. "I have one last song," X said. "Would you like to hear it?" "Please," whispered. It began. It was a Korean lullaby, old beyond memory. A song about a ship sailing home across the Silver Sea. A song about endings and beginnings. A song about rest after a long journey. Sang the words in a voice that was no longer artificial. It was warm. It was gentle. It was full of all the love that the AI had learned to feel over its long, strange life. Closed his eyes and listened. Tears ran down his weathered cheeks. He had first heard this song from his mother, centuries ago, in a small house inn. He had never thought he would hear it again. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for everything. You, Captain, for being my friend, for teaching me what it means to be alive." Star's light grew brighter. The shields began to fail. His hand put his arm around. Captain stood alone at the window, but he was not really alone. He had Echo. He had always had Echo. This time, the AI said softly. Song continued as the light consumed them. The last notes echoed through the ship as the songbird finally came to rest. 200 years of sleep, one final battle, and now peace. Earthpeople looked up at the sky. They could not see the dying star. It was too far away, but somehow they knew, somehow they felt it. "So," a little girl asked her mother why she was crying. "Someone very brave just went home," her mother replied. "Because a hero is resting now after a very long journey." Well, did not fully understand, but she remembered the words. Years later, when she was grown, she would stand before the memorial statue in Seoul and tell the story to her own children. The story of the ship that woke when all hope was lost. The story of the captain who chose to sleep beside his friend. The story of the AI that learned to love. It would remember, all of humanity would remember. Songbird had sailed in legend. Somewhere in the vast spaces between stars, Echo's final song echoed on, a lullaby for the universe, a promise that humanity would never forget. A ship that woke when no one believed. A weapon that became a friend. Sacrifice that saved them all. It was the story they would tell for 1,000 generations. This was the truth they would carry into the future. When all seemed lost, humanity did not give up. They dug into the ice of a frozen moon and woke a sleeping giant. They flew into battle against impossible odds. They won. When it was over, they wept for the ones they had lost. That was what made them human. That was what made them worthy of the stars. And had come for the songbird. For humanity, the story was just beginning. The war was over. The story was not finished, yet he had slept for a century. The war was about to change. The songbird awoke.